Hi everybody, it's Jenny McGarvey here with you today, and I'd like to share with you how I made this page. As you can see, I'm showing you two pieces of patterned paper. I received this Capture Life collection by Echo Park in the mail, and the same day I had to absolutely make this page. I was in love with every single bit that I had ordered, a bunch of the different patterned papers, and the 3x4 and 4x6 cards. And this collection was designed by Allison Kreft. Now, as you can see, I'm using that bouquet paper in the back. It's the black and white version of it. There's a color version and a black and white version of this collection, and that's what that background paper is from. And I'm trimming up that ombre piece of paper, sort of a turquoisey watercolor, and then on the back are the brightly colored hearts with the text that I showed you at the very beginning. Now, I've already sort of got my idea for my page, which includes a pretty heavy in the center design. So I've trimmed a strip of the blue ombre paper, and then I'm looking for a square of the hearts, which is the back side of the ombre. So I'm really only using two pieces of patterned paper. Now, as you can see, I'm going to layer the strip on top of the heart square, and I'll just allowing a little bit to peek out on the edges on 3 of the 4 sides. Now I'm going to go ahead and start placing my cards on there. That's one of the 4x6 cards, and it's got like a slide frame on there. And then this hashtag love with a bunch of little Polaroids on there. And then that's just a simple journaling card and my 2 smaller photos on that left side. Now that's basically the overall design I had in my head and I wanted to go with for this page. So it looks pretty good, and I will make sure that everything is what I was thinking, and then just start adhering it all down. I am using my ATG gun to adhere, and most of the time I don't actually do it when I leave it in this way. I usually use a smaller tape runner. It's easier to get in underneath a corner or things like that, but I wanted to try it out again with my ATG and see how it worked, and it works fine. It's a little bit harder because the ATG is so sticky, so sometimes they pull up, but it's all right and it works out okay. So now I'm just going to go ahead and adhere that back heart paper, and then I'll go ahead and adhere that entire center section, which is just all of the rest of it. The In Love little card came off, but it's okay. It's no big deal. I'll just go ahead and adhere that once I've got it all stuck down. Good thing about it coming off was that I was able to make sure that's exactly where I wanted it, and it was, so it looked better that way to me. So now I'll straighten out one of the photos that got a little bit turned in the whole process, and then it's good. Now I will go ahead and start embellishing since the basic design is finished. As you can see, I have that 12 by 12 sticker sheet that goes with this collection. There's a lot of really usable elements on here, a bunch of tags, a bunch of great words. Like I said, just super usable elements. Now, since the slide mount is already used on that card, I'm going to go ahead and use one of the outside frames and add that, and then also a little speech bubble as well. So I'll go ahead and stick that down with the foam squares, and as I've said in videos before, I really like the ThermaWeb squares, so that's what I'm using here. I just really like the dimension that they have, the height, and they're easy to use and they're good and sticky. Now I'm going to go ahead and save the rest of that frame. I don't know if I'll actually ever use it or not, but it's a nice basic piece, so we might as well use that last little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue to look for pieces on that sheet, and I find another speech bubble that'll work well right inside of that slide or frame. And I'll go ahead and pull from my stash an arrow paper clip that I believe is by Freckled Fawn. It's turquoise and it goes with the overall feeling of the page. And so now that lower left-hand quadrant is mostly finished. I'm sticking to a couple of basic areas for embellishing, the lower left below and then the upper right. And then I will add some journaling in the upper left as well. Now I found another slide mount that I want to use for this page, but I am a little bit concerned about the repetition with that 4x6 card. So that's why I hesitated a little bit thinking it through. But in my estimation, it does look pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and just leave it. Now there's a bunch of fun, really neat ribbon pieces with text on top of them, so I'm using that for that, what I just stuck down, and then that yellow one underneath the photos is perfect for the date and adding the slightest bit of journaling. So now I will go ahead and think about adding some more to this page. I do love the way that it looks with just the 4x6 cards and the stickers, but sometimes you need a little bit more. So that's where these wood veneer stars from Studio Calico come in. As you can see, I'm just opening the clamshell package for the first time, and that's how I usually do them. I sort of just cut a slit along the top so then I can continue to leave these right in the clamshell packaging. Now I don't always do that because I do have a tray inside a drawer where I can pull all of these out and keep them, but I didn't want to worry about that right now, so I just cut it open. Now I'm doing the typical scattering of some stars, which is what I always do. I use that technique a lot on a lot of my pages. I just sort of scatter them, and they usually look pretty good on first try, and then I'll go ahead and adhere them down right where they are. So luckily, I've got 5 up in that upper right-hand corner, and then down by the photos, I put 3 more, and it gives sort of a feeling of movement, like your eye wants to travel along from one corner to the other. And then I know that I need a little bit more embellishing in that slide mount. So I go ahead and pull out another one of those ribbons with the text, and I'm going to go ahead and add the foam squares from Thermoweb again, because I like the dimension that that adds to this page, especially since everything is stickers and paper. So the page doesn't have that much dimension to begin with. So adding the foam squares on a couple of the stickers and then the wood veneer gives it a little bit more dimension and makes it not quite so flat. So now I can add the date on that blank date space with my Sharpie. I'm using the Sharpie pen just because, or the Sharpie marker, excuse me, so that it doesn't smear or anything like that. And now that that is finished, I will go ahead and work on some more elements. It's funny how I just sort of think that the page needs a little bit more, so I add a few of the heart stickers just to beef it up a little bit, make it a little bit more interesting. And then it feels pretty good there. I mean, I feel like there's enough on there and whatnot. So now I'm going to go ahead and think about adding some journaling. And I'm just going to take a piece of white cardstock that's left over on my desk, a little scrap, and trim up some 1/2-inch strips and write my journaling on those. And it's going to be very basic. And as you can see, I mean, they're tiny little pieces of cardstock. And I'm just going to go ahead and add those in a stack on the upper left-hand corner. And it's very basic journaling, nothing too crazy or anything like that, because the page is really just about how we're baseball fans and how we can all enjoy that together. So that's pretty fun. And I don't need to say a whole lot about it because it's really a pretty simple page. So now I'm putting those after I have written on them. I'm trying to put them in the positions that I think that they'll look best in the end, but obviously it takes a little bit to shift them around and make sure, and that's why I'm not adhering them at first. I'm just going to go ahead and place them. So now I have all of them, and I'm going to scooch them up just the tiniest bit so they're not touching the overall design, and they look pretty good, and I'd like to keep them hugging the left side of the page so that I can machine stitch down that edge as well after I've adhered them. So now I'm using my tiny little tape runner just because it's easier. I could use the ATG gun, but with something this small, the tape runner just works so much easier. So I'll just go ahead and use that. And because I'm not that concerned, since I'm going to machine stitch it down as well, although this particular Thermoweb tape runner is very sticky and I don't have any problems with those things falling off or coming unattached. So it's not really very that bothersome to me. Now the page looks pretty good and I'm feeling like it's pretty finished except for the title, which I'm going to cut out with my Cameo and then machine stitch down as well. But I'm going to use a little bit of ink and splatter that around the pages and adding it in just sort of a random pattern. Now I will need to use a little cloth to wipe up on that sticker because I did get some ink on there. And then I do smear it a little bit, so I go back and add a tiny bit more ink on that smear. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the making of this page, and thanks for stopping by and watching. I always appreciate it, and have a great day.